Is Sunday, May 4th, 2025. This is the ninth episode of the Count On It podcast. And tomorrow, what's going to dominate the news, tomorrow being Monday, May 5th, will be the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Of course, it's beginning while he's 55 years old on 5/5. And for me personally, it's going to be the 20th anniversary of taking my last final on my undergraduate. Very easy day to remember. May 5th, '05, the day I took my last exam, getting my accounting degree. And I'll tell you what, back then I never knew uh, how much time I would be dedicating to studying numerology. I was kind of on the path because 9/11 happened my freshman year of college. I'd only been there for a couple weeks, and here was the biggest numerology ritual I'd ever seen in my life. In the 11th state, New York, the towers that looked like an 11 came crumbling down on the 11th day of September after the festivities started with flight AA-11. Of course, the Pentagon got hit that day, and Pentagon construction began in history on September 11th, 1941, right before Pearl Harbor. And they called 9/11 the new Pearl Harbor, and buildings 1, 2, and 7 came down in New York. And of course, that's a lot like the date December 7th, the day of Pearl Harbor. And for the record, 127 is the 31st prime, and 31 is the 11th prime, bringing us back to 11. And you might recall, if you were alive back then, certain songs got banned on the radio. They were no longer fit for radio play. And one of those songs was a huge song from Sean Diddy Combs' label, Notorious B.I.G.'s Juicy. They couldn't play Juicy on the radio anymore because he said, blow up like the World Trade. Of course, that song came out a little less than a decade before 9/11 happened. And out of 9/11 became the Department of Homeland Security. Remember, that was a new agency within the federal government. Of course, the Department of Homeland Security ended up raiding Diddy's house, and they did it on the anniversary of Biggie's album, his Life After Death album. Biggie had those two albums, Ready to Die and Life After Death. And Tupac ended up dying on the anniversary of Ready to Die. It's a whole nother story. But yeah, Diddy got arrested just a handful of days after the anniversary. In fact, it was 5 days after the anniversary of September 11th. And now here we are on 5/5 while he's 55. And the thing we like to talk about on this show is numerology, and also the practice of coding numbers into words, which is a Jewish form of numerology known as gematria, which has been adopted by other spiritual practices and other organizations. But just for the record, the word numerology has a numerical value of 55. And what I want to do in this show is just go through a collection of posts, and understand this isn't all of them. There's a lot of documentation of the numerology rituals they've been doing with Diddy. And also, since this podcast is newer, but I've been around for, again, I'll have been around doing this work for 12 years come this August. It all started for me back in August of 2013. But I was telling my community, people who follow my work, in the year leading up to Diddy turning 54, why he was going down at age 54. And I started talking about the day Clarence Avant died. If you go back and look, the day Clarence Avant, known as the Black Godfather, the day he died, an image was syndicated with him, Diddy, and Jay-Z. And I said, it's interesting that Sussex Records equates to 54, and he's dead 54 years after establishing that label. And of course, 54 is a special number to the Jesuits. Jesuit order equals 54. I said, I think this means Diddy's going down at 54. And lo and behold, if you go back in history, you'll see that once upon a time, when Diddy was a lot younger in the 90s, he performed next to a 54-year-old Jimmy Page, his song Come With Me, which is to the tune of Led Zeppelin's Kashmir. That's why Jimmy Page was on the stage. But in that performance, Diddy said, watch me rise, watch me fall. And again, he said it next to a 54-year-old Jimmy Page. And that song was for the Godzilla soundtrack the original Godzilla film also came out in 54. And again, 54 is no slouch of a number. It's very special to the Jesuits who have their headquarters at the Church of the Jesu, Building 54. Um, but yeah, sure enough, Diddy did go down at age 54, and it happened, days after he turned 54. The legal cases started to come out. And then at the tail end of Jay-Z being 54, the rumors came out that he was going to be in trouble. He had some accusers too. And right after he turned 55, the first major accusations came against him. So we'll see. We'll see all what comes out in this trial, who else gets connected. People are speculating that J-Lo's name might come up. Remember, J-Lo, she was with him the night of the club shooting. And if you look in history, two of the most tragic events connected to Diddy's life, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, whatever you want to call him, they happened on Denzel Washington's birthday. The stampede at the music event that Diddy hosted early in his career before he was mega famous, and then the club shooting, they both happened on Denzel's birthday. Again, Denzel's Jesuit educated. He went to Fordham like Donald Trump. And Denzel's in the movie American Gangster. Sean Combs' father worked for Mr. American Gangster in real life and was murdered at age 33 back in 72. Remember, when you run it in reverse, Jesuit order equates to 72 instead of 54. But if you go back and look, right after Diddy got arrested, they added American Gangster to Netflix just like days later. And it reminds you the Jesuit color schemes red, black, and white, just like Netflix. Yeah, we'll cover a lot of different angles here, but just starting with a little warm up. And again, for all the people who hate on this knowledge, you really got to stop hating on it. We're fresh off calling the Kentucky Derby again. Get into that maybe later tonight. You guys can check out my work on my YouTube channel. Why sovereignty was going to be the horse. Sovereignty was born the day Russia went into Ukraine. Russia threatening the sovereignty of Ukraine. There's a whole lot more to it as well. But again, the game's rigged. We're fresh off calling the Masters. We're fresh off calling March Madness. Again, you learn this knowledge. You see how rigged the game is. Literally from the sports games, college and pro, down to horse racing, to how rigged the news is. And what we're watching unfold each day are distractions and rituals from a ruling class that controls us. They control our minds through the screens, and they control our wealth through their taxation and fees and the system they've set up. And a lot of them just sit on their ass their whole life and live off of our existence, our work, our consumption, taxes on all ends. And again, you take away these distractions and entertainment, a lot of people might actually get out their pitchforks and do something about it. But it's not going to be tomorrow, because most people are going to be parked on their ass watching the latest intel on what's going on in Diddy. You know, they almost hyped this thing like a fight months ago. That in the trial, there's going to be some big names coming out. People right now, they're just like, I can't wait to hear the big celebrity names who were in on it. Are there going to be any big facts like Diddy had 700 and some dildos in his house? I can't wait to hear all about it. You know? Like, that's actually not what's too important to our lives. And the only reason I cover this is because I know this is what people are into, and I'm trying to get people to see the bigger picture, what you're really watching. Don't forget, they took down R. Kelly at age 54 as well. There's been a lot of parallels with R. Kelly and Diddy. And when they did R. Kelly, they sentenced him to prison on the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome. So right before Diddy got arrested, there'd been a buildup to the arrest moment. All kinds of people coming out of the woodwork making accusations. But you might recall the straw that seemed to break the camel's back, which was days before the arrest. It was the news on September 11th. Dawn Richard of MTV Making the Band. Again, that was Diddy's show. The group Danity Kane came out of it. She sued Diddy 55 days before his 55th birthday. And keep in mind, this was the big story the same day as the MTV Music Awards. But again, this was 55 days before his 55th birthday, And now on 5-5, the trial is going to begin. But here's why the 55 really mattered in this. MTV equates to 55 in this practice of coding numbers into words. And again, as a refresher, there are 4 base ciphers of the English language. The most simple is the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. In this case, M would be the 13th letter of the alphabet. T would be the 20th. V would be the 22nd. 13 plus 20 plus 22 is 55. So there was that. And by the way, the legal suit filed by her was 55 pages long. 55 pages. The 4 base ciphers. The next cipher is the alphabetic order with numerology. If you write out making the band, it equates to 55. Again, in this cipher, M, the first letter in making the band, is the 13th letter, but the numerology of 13 is 4. So M becomes 4. A is the first letter, it's worth 1. K, the 11th letter, becomes 1 plus 1 is 2. I, the 9th letter, N, the 14th letter, becomes 1 plus 4 is 5. G, the 7th, so on. You add up the word with numerology applied to each letter, making the band 55. This is the show that she made it on. Diddy's ex, Kim Porter, who died by the numbers, which we covered years ago, and they actually changed her age of death after she passed. Kim Porter, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with numerology applied, is 55. And again, in this lawsuit, it was said that Don Richard witnessed Diddy, abusing his ex, Kim Porter. As for Dawn Richard, she was 41 years old at the time of this accusation. 41 in numerology breaks down to 5. We got a 5-5, 55 thing going, but her being 41 is interesting just because the group Danity Kane equates to 41. And 41's the 13th prime number, and M's the 13th letter, and that's the big MTV logo, right? A big M with a little TV written in it. In light of this being the big story, the day of September 11th, the day of the MTV Video Music Awards, just for the record, MTV Video Music Awards also happens to equate to 119, kind of like how that day can be around 11/9. And like I was saying, just this numerology, September 11th, the Department of Homeland Security, the arrested Diddy 5 days later, the banning of the Biggie song, you know what I mean? Really think about the ritualism. When the Department of Homeland Security was created, it was to keep us from fighting terrorists, and now, decades later, it's being used to arrest mega celebrities. If you're looking at the screen, I'm going to skip over some of the information there because otherwise it's just going to become information overload. We're going to go through a lot of examples. So again, this was a big story right before the arrest, and it was just so 55, bringing us to the trial now beginning on 5/5 while he's 55 years old. And as for his arrest, September 16th, for the record, that lawsuit was filed on September 10th, but it was the news story on September 11th, the day of the MTV Video Music Awards. So anyhow, his arrest, 5 days after the news essentially broke on September 16th, that was 49 days before his birthday. And why does that matter? Because Bad Boy equates to 49. Diddy is the face of Bad Boy Records. And again, think about the wordplay, right? He's been a bad boy. He's finally going down for it, they're saying. For a lot of his career, he was just known as Puff, short for Puff Daddy. Puff is also 49. You listen to those old Bad Boy records, they have a lot of like talking and interludes, and they'll be like, yo, what's up, Puff? Anyway, Puff goes down 49 days before his birthday. The biggest focal point out of all of his problems was Cassie Ventura. Cassie Ventura equates to 49. He was arrested by the feds who operate out of D.C., obviously. Washington equals 49, as does America. And for the record, so does Scottish, as in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. And just for your knowledge bank, 49 is the 33rd composite number. Like the top degree of the Scottish Rite is 33. He was arrested in Manhattan, where the World Trade Centers once stood, at the Park Hyatt Hotel. And to make a long story short, Park Hyatt Hotel equates to 72, like Jesuit order, like how his father was murdered at 33 in 72. Can you run it the other way? Jesuit order's 54. He's 54 at the time of the arrest. Remember, the word sun equates to 54. The Jesuit logo is the sun. The sun moves 1 degree on the astrological wheel every 72 years. In the middle of the Jesuit order's logo is also the Templar cross, and the Templars used to have something called the Rule of 72, if you want to look that up. And it's funny because Rule of 72 equates to 112, like Catholicism, but then you think of Bad Boy Records, they had the R&B group 112. Anyway, we won't even go there. His lawyer that he picked up, Mark Agnifilio, sounds like a Jesuit gangster. He's got the 72 in his name as well. Also very important in this is September 16th is the 259th day of the year and the day leaving 106 remaining. Black Lives Matter equates to 259 and 106, just like their motto, I can't breathe equals 106, just like even the word black alone when you run the alphabetic order in reverse is 106. There's a lot to those numbers with rituals and history with black celebrities. But also building on the 106 list, his father worked for Frank Lucas, who Denzel portrayed in American Gangster. Frank Lucas equals 106. Cassie, when you run the alphabetic order in reverse, just like black, is 106. Cassie Ventura, arrested on the day leaving 106 days left in the year. A very famous black celebrity, you know. One of the biggest icons in the world of black celebrity for anyone anywhere near my age. You know, he's been on the world stage. I was in middle school when he became super famous, and I'm approaching my mid-40s, so he's been here for a minute. From Cassie's birthday to the arrest was 22 days later. We just said how Bad Boy equals 49, how he's arrested 49 days before his own birthday. If you apply numerology, Bad Boy equals 22. So the Bad Boy is arrested 22 days after her birthday and 49 days before his own. From the Department of Homeland Security raiding his house, again on the anniversary of the Biggie album, to the arrest having to do with sexual assault, it was 175 days later. Sexual assault equates to 175. We just talked about this in the accusation of Shannon Sharpe. They did a similar ritual with him. Same number. So yeah, we're going to go through a lot of these posts tonight. And I realize if you're looking at the screen, because I'm sharing this on YouTube, I did in this specific post, I did link a lot of the key stories here. But we'll just go through them. And I'm not even necessarily going to go through all of them in chronological order. I'm just going to keep just showing you examples of things which I would say are distractions that have been in the news involving Diddy, and how it's clearly, at the end of the day, nothing but ritual. I can't wait till we get to the freak-offs. I still remember the day that they came out that I was just laughing my ass off at how stupid it was. The hard-hitting thing in there was that he had all these dildos in his house. It's like, is that illegal or a freak? What's a freak off? Are these illegal? To have that many dildos, is that illegal? Seems like a public humiliation. So he was arrested for dildos and freak offs? And just wait till we get to the gematria of freak offs. Since this has happened, a lot of stories have come out from these John Does and young people. On October 14th, the story was that he was accused of fiddling a 16-year-old boy at a celebrity-filled white party. John Doe was the term they used for the accuser. Just for the record, John Doe equates to 28, equates to Sean Combs, equates to Diddy. And if you square that number 28 It's how many dildos they said were taken from his home at the time of the raid. So, the phrase "white party" that was the emphasized phrase that day. Diddy accused of fiddling a little boy at a white party. White party equals 55. So here we go. We're going to find out who else was at that white party with this trial now beginning on 5/5 while he's 55. For the record, the date the trial was set was October 10th. Funny date because 55 is the 10th triangular number. That means if you add 1 through 10 together, it equals 55. And if you know the Fibonacci sequence, it goes 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. 55 is the 10th number in the sequence. The next number is 89, then 144, then 233. You just add the last two numbers to get the next number. It goes to infinity. But 55 is the 10th triangular number and the 10th Fibonacci number. So what a date to set the trial for 5/5, right? Just on 10/10. And 10/10/2024 was just before his 55th birthday on November 4th. It was a date with 54 numerology while he's 54 years old. When again, we went over how significant that number is. Jaguar Wright, who's now referencing gematria in her own videos that she's doing. And I think she learned about this through Lord Jamar, because if you know Lord Jamar from Brand Nubian, he likes my work. He shouted out my book, Number Games, and sometimes he brings up the number stuff in his own podcast. But he has her on, and she started talking about gematria at some point. So I'm like, she must have learned about this through Lord Jamar. And again, that's the value of getting this knowledge out there is, what's the phrase? Each one, teach one. She did an interview and got some attention with Piers Morgan, and Vibe picked it up, and other outlets did, that she said Jay-Z was next. So at the time I said, well, that's perfect, because I said this before either of them turned 54, how they look like they'd both be in trouble possibly at age 54, but I knew Diddy was the bigger target. There's always been rumors about Diddy. And then, Jay-Z seems maybe like he might be a little bit protected from his wife, one of the biggest stars on the world stage. Okay, so again, since the arrest, just so many stories have come out, and a lot of them had to do with children, right? On October 2nd, 10/2, there was an accuser that said a 9-year-old girl had been assaulted by Mr. Sean Combs. A 9-year-old girl. And the thing about this date, 10/2, it's a lot like the date February 10th, the other 10/2 date. And remember, the feds recognized Black history on February 10th. The date can be written 10/2, just like October 2nd can be written 10/2, which looks like 102. The N-word equals 102. Slavery equals 102. Don't forget the American Civil War began on April 12th in 1861, the 102nd day of the year. It's a number that comes up in racial shaming rituals. And so often when Black celebrities are dead, the number shows up. We covered it a million times, but this was one of the ugliest headlines for him. After the arrest, a 9-year-old on 10/2, and I just thought, if only everybody knew gematria, they would see what's really going on here. An anonymous 9-year-old. Okay, so I'd been talking about the parallels with Diddy, and by the way, the real Frank Lucas died when Denzel Washington was 54 years old. And Denzel's birthday is 54 days from Diddy's birthday. But anyhow, let's see what day it was. It was also on October 2nd. October 2nd, the headlines brought Denzel and Diddy together. U.S. Weekly, Denzel Washington once confronted Diddy. He stormed out after the party. So they're making it seem like Denzel was upset by some things going on at a Diddy white party. Uh, but yeah, also just on 10-2. And then the media emphasized this phrase, stormed out, that Denzel said he stormed out. And stormed out happens to have a numerical value of 42, just like Puff Daddy, just like freak offs, like slavery, like Tuskegee, also like the N word, like Jackie, like a million other things connected to Black history from February to the bus. I'm trying to think of the song that um, Diddy did the song, and it's a beat that's been used in hip hop and R&B, and it's been used numerous times. The song is called "So Emotional." I cannot think of the artist for that song right now, but you probably it's on the radio still to this day. If you want to look up the music video for this song, "So Emotional," right at the beginning of the music video, if you're paying attention, a school bus drives by with number 42 on the side. Just like, come on, man. And again, it's nothing new. You pay attention to these things. They've been doing this for all of our lifetimes. Sidney Poitier and Lilies of the Field. He's out in the field next to a tractor with a big 42 on it. And don't forget who told you they're going to kill Sidney Poitier at age 94. That's because Lilies of the Field's 94 minutes long, and Roman Catholic Church equals 94, and that movie's about him saving nuns. And of course, he died right before Will Smith won Best Actor. And that's where he slapped the shit out of Chris Rock and got ritual humiliated by the numbers. Just look, just do the gematria yourself. Do the gematria for Will Smith and Sidney Poitier and measure from his death to the day that Will Smith won Best Actor. And don't forget Will Smith in that movie from years ago where he portrays a gay criminal who claims to be related to Sidney Poitier. Again, I think it's called 6 Degrees of Separation, if I remember right. But yeah, again, just coded information every day. The reason it matters that this story broke 87 days before Denzel's birthday is because I just said freak offs and Puff Daddy equal 42. That's when you apply numerology. If you don't, freak offs and Puff Daddy both equal 87. So Denzel, like what they were implying in this story is he didn't like the freak offs, so he stormed out. You know what I mean? And again, just how the news breaks perfectly by a code. And for some other 87 words, try slavery and Martin. And again, both those words also equal 42. Another word that fits in is a lot of people think this is justice. Justice happens to equal 87 and 102, like how this broke on 10-2, 87 days before Denzel's birthday. And again, then it starts coming out that well, it's been a rumor for a long time that Diddy goes both ways. But wasn't this all around the same time that the new Gladiator movie came out and people didn't like the scene of Denzel kissing another man? That was some buzz at the time. Again, all this stuff is related. On the big anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, September 27th, it came out that Diddy bought 1,000 baby oil bottles at Costco. Costco equals 87. For the record, so does Ignatius of Loyola. That's the founder of the Jesuits. If you write out the Catholic Church, it equals 87. Diddy is Catholic. Yeah, if you ever go down to New Orleans, not far from the main tourist attraction, just a few blocks down the street, there's a big Catholic church, and there's a plaque on the outside, and it says, "Blacks were first allowed in this church in 1842. But yeah, the Costco thing, it just reminds me Costco was so instrumental in the scandemic, which was simulated by the Jesuit World Economic Forum. Yeah, again, if you guys are interested in this information and you want more information, I encourage you to go to my website, gematriaeffect.news, because I do have a lot of other posts up here on the screen and information about this. But like I said, we're going to go through a lot of things, and I don't want to, not everybody has the mind to appreciate as many numbers as I'd like to go into. So I'm just going to keep things as simple as possible as we go through each one of these little posts that should jog your memory if you've been following these stories. And you know they're all going to come up in the trial And keep in mind, this trial's starting shortly before Notorious B.I.G.'s birthday. You know, by the time that rolls around, there's going to be a major milestone. And hold on real quick. Yeah, it is May 21st. His birthday is May 21st. By the way, Biggie was born in 72, the year that Diddy's father was killed. And that means if he were still alive, he would turn 53 this year. He'd still be a relatively young man. Also on the big Jesuit day, September 27th, Jane Doe accuses Diddy of unwanted penetration. The woman said she was drugged and impregnated by Mr. Sean Combs. Major accusation on the big Jesuit day. And consider this is the day that they sentenced R. Kelly to prison in history at age 54. Jane Doe equals 54. Jesuit Order 54. Again, their headquarters at the Church of the Jesu, Building 54. I mean, just talk about super redundant. It's funny. Somebody uploaded a video today trying to attack this work and saying that I'm misleading people by saying that these numbers are actually connected to the Jesuits. It's like, who is paying people to make these videos? How obvious is it that it is the Jesuits? Who else would it be? Something I document along the way. The same Georgetown lawyer that prosecuted R. Kelly was also prosecuting Diddy. So you have a Jesuit-educated lawyer from Georgetown, which was founded by a 54-year-old John Carroll, whose name also equals 54. I mean, there's just so many. And again, who gave us the language in the calendar? Oh, that's right, the Jesuits did. Who else would have implemented this system? Again, you have to be a major league coincidence theorist. Their headquarters is at Building 54. It's called the Church of the Jesu, spelled with the G. And by the way, this whole link with Diddy and Jay-Z, a lot of people had never heard the voice of Jay-Z until Diddy's album, No Way Out. He's featured on a song called Young G's. Young G's. Every time I say that, somebody from the East Coast is like, that's not true. We all knew about Jay-Z in New York. Okay, New York's not the world. Most of us don't live in New York. Most people never heard of Jay-Z. A lot of people knew. Most of us saw Jay-Z as the guy who was riding on Foxy Brown's coattails on MTV and BET. That's who Jay-Z was to us. And I hate how they act like Jay-Z's the king of hip-hop. He was hardly even part of the 90s scene. He put out the Blueprint on 9/11, and that's the album that put him on the map for a lot of people, and that was years after he was featured on Diddy's album. Anyway. Young G's in the Church of the Jesu. The word pregnant, since she said that this accusation came out on the big Jesuit day that she got pregnant. Pregnant equates to 95. It's just a reminder the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses written by Martin Luther, which is also why Martin Luther, who assumed the name Martin Luther after the Protestant Reformation leader, was killed on the 95th day of the year. Again, it's undeniable, really, because from the 95 Theses being pinned to the Jesuits being created was 201 months later, whereas from Martin Luther King Jr. being killed to the nation's first gun control legislation was 201 days later. And, of course, the Jesuit order equates to 201. And September 27th, the day they were recognized by the Roman Catholic Church, is the day leaving 95 days left in the year. So what a day for a story of an unwanted impregnation by Mr. Sean Combs. Yeah, and there really is a lot of other information in all these things, but that's enough for that one. Talia Graves became the 11th person to accuse Mr. Combs of sexual assault. Talia Graves equals 201, like the Jesuit order. You know what I mean? It's just, yeah, it's just, yeah. It's just par for the course, really. And wait till we get to his character name in the movie where he's executed. And there's been some headlines, some people that have suggested that he needs to be executed for all this. Like, has anyone ever been executed for, like, even if he really did it? Like, the only people I've heard about getting executed are people who murdered other people. Oh, that's right, though. That's right, though. Who recently came out and said that he shot somebody in the face at the club on purpose? Was that Shine? Was that Shine in a 201 ritual? Hold on. We'll get to that eventually. Yeah. All right. For a minute, this was some viral news, some obviously fake Kim Porter memoir. And, you know, all the dopes were like, oh, wow. It's crazy how people are just so scammy. Somebody puts this out. I'm sure they sold a gazillion copies. I'm sure this sold way more copies than my book, Number Games, which could have saved the world. Because, again, I did rush it out to get out early as possible in 2020. And, again, accurately forecasted what would happen from the scandemic jabs and also why they'd be winding down the scandemic as soon as the year of the tiger came around, exactly what they did. Book hardly sold any copies. I know this thing sold a lot of copies, the fake Kim Porter memoir. It was rushed out 59 days before Sean Combs' birthday. That's the day it was released. And Bad Boy Records equals 59, just like Slave, like Negro, like Rasta, like Blues, like how Motown came out in 59. Of course, Diddy's very much connected to Motown. It's how he was found out by one of the Motown executives. And don't forget in recent history, when the current head of Motown at the time dropped dead at 59, the news was released at a Diddy party. Of course, Black History Month also ends on the 59th day of the year. But yeah, that thing that got a lot of buzz, the unauthorized Kim Porter memoir, which is obviously a complete fraud. They put it out 59 days before Diddy's birthday. I'm sure the cabal pocketed some nice change off the gullible sheep. Just about Diddy being 54. The RICO law is what was used to take him down, the thing they used to use for the mafia. The RICO law was 54 years old at the time they took Diddy down. You know, go figure. Go figure. In Monsters Ball, where Diddy's character gets executed, the name is Lawrence Musgrove. Lawrence Musgrove equals 201. These in the 4 base ciphers: 201, 75, 231, and 87. I remember Puff Daddy's also 87, like Freakoffs. But those 4 values are a perfect match with the founder of the Jesuits. Ignatius Loyola is 201, 75, 231, 87. And you know what? I think from the arrest, hold up. Let me see if I got this right. Yeah, from the arrest to the start of the trial is 231 days. From September 16th to May 5th is 231 days, which is also 33 weeks, reminding of what happened to his father at age 33. For the record, New York equals 33. It's kind of like how 1968 is the year 911 became the National Emergency Dialing Code and World Trade Center construction began, and 5 other things connected to that infamous day. 68, of course, was 33 years before 2001. Man, I have seen headlines about how he should be executed. If somehow, some way that ends up being the verdict, which I can just hardly imagine, I could see it more like going along the lines of the Jeffrey Epstein thing, since it's also the Epstein team that took him down. And by the way, Stephen A. Smith did predict, that was Stephen A. Smith's prediction at the time. He said that he sees the same outcome for Diddy as Jeffrey Epstein. Don't forget the whole Epstein thing was by the numbers. But this is a realization in the moment that his character name equates to how many days it is from his arrest to the trial beginning, where people are calling for his execution. And does New York even have the death penalty? I guess they could try him in other states, because some of this stuff happened in other states. I was going, that's weird. His character does get executed in Monsters Ball. Talk about predictive programming, though, right? And God, Monsters Ball came out in 2001. Hold on. What? Well, I see. It premiered November 11th, 2001. That would have been 7 days after his birthday. That would have been 2 months after 9/11. It was released in theaters in the United States on the February 8th. That's the 39th day of the year. That's the ultimate New York number. Um, okay, that is one to think about. That's interesting. Yeah, his character name, the ultimate predictive programming. Okay, this one I'm going to throw out there isn't exactly related to the trial, or maybe it is. Maybe it is. Back in 2023, Diddy got a lot of attention for dressing up as Heath Ledger's version of the Joker. And what's wild about this is from Heath Ledger's death to the day that Diddy did that was 177 months and 9 days later. But the 177 months is interesting because the Jesuit order equates to 177 and, of course, also 201. And don't forget what Trump recently did. Trump appeared in court on what would have been Heath Ledger's 44th birthday on 4/4, and that was just a week after they'd filmed the latest Joker scene in the same courtroom. And Trump is the 44th person to be president. Yeah, he was number 45, but Grover Cleveland had the split term, so it messed up the count. So Trump has the 44 connection as well. You might have saw today that he said he's bringing back Alcatraz through an executive order. He did that 44 days after the anniversary of its closing. It's a whole nother topic. Or maybe it's not that far off, actually, since it has to do with prison. And it is in the Bay Area where Kamala is, who went to Howard like Diddy. And, of course, Diddy's Mr. Vote or Die, Mr. Rock the Vote, the man with the biggest Jesus piece in hip-hop music, maybe in show business, period. Okay, for another familiar pattern. Jesuit Order is 54, Society of Jesus is 56. There are two titles for the same thing. If you just saw the ritual with Elon Musk creating the new town in Texas, that was done 56 days before his 54th birthday. The vote was yesterday, 56 days before his 54th birthday. These numbers come together in a lot of rituals, including the death of Michael K. Williams, who played Omar in Jesuit Run's HBO show The Wire. But Diddy's arrest was 56 days after the anniversary of the release of No Way Out. And it was the 27th anniversary. 27 is a big ritual number, but 56 days after the anniversary of No Way Out. Sean Diddy Combs equals 56, like Society of Jesus. Cassie also equates to 56. When you run it forwards, Cassie's 56. When you run it in reverse, it's 106. Just like the arrest was on the day, leaving 106 days left in the year. No Way Out. Just think about the title of that album. Reminds me of David Bowie's Rock and Roll Suicide, about being too young to make these major decisions that so many entertainers have to. And again, I mean, I have a feeling you go to the average 20-year-old in the U.S., you say, listen, 30 years, millionaire, celebrity, imagine all the ladies. But in 30 years, we're coming to collect. 20-year-old's like, what do you mean? You'll find out what we mean. Do you want the deal? You said millionaire, 30 years of celebrity. Where can I sign? I'll take my chances on what it means. Come to collect. Sometimes I think it's obituaries. Sometimes it's this. Freak-offs with 9-year-olds. And all these other kids, supposedly, and all these John and Jane Doe accusations and everything else. All right, this Shine part is crazy. Shine, the bad boy rapper who took the fall for the club shooting, who's now a politician in Belize. Isn't that the Biggie line? I'll be smoking trees in Belize when they find me. Have these people even really died? Tupac dead on White Jesus' birthday, and they rush out the album with him looking like Jesus on Remember the 5th of November, the day leaving 56 days left in the year, the very special date of the Jesuits. They call it Machiavelli, a play on Machiavelli, who again wrote The Prince based on Caesar Borgia, where White Jesus comes from. And again, Tupac died on Caesar Borgia's birthday, as well as the anniversary of Ready to Die coming out, the Biggie debut album. And again, when Prince died, Tupac's mother's death was announced shortly after on May 3rd. That anniversary of it being announced was just yesterday, which is the real Machiavelli's birthday. If you look it up, she died May 2nd, but the news did not break until May 3rd on the real Machiavelli's birthday that Tupac's mom died. And again, right after Prince died. Because again, Machiavelli wrote The Prince. All right, but Shine, he spoke out against Diddy 3 days after the arrest, and that was 201 months after becoming a politician in Belize. Again, he was involved in the club shooting 54 days after Diddy's birthday on Denzel's birthday, where 54 and 201 come together. Again, Jesuit order is 54, the Jesuit order is 201, heliocentrism is 201, sun is 54. In the 16th century, the Jesuits were created. They implemented the calendar, standardized the alphabet, and the heliocentric model was agreed to that says the sun is the center of it all. Think about how we refer to the sun as the nearest star. Think about how we call celebrities stars. Diddy, a major star. And now his star fading at 54. It's a supernova. All right. Let me get all this up here. So he became a politician, Shine, on November 11th, 2020. From that day to him speaking out was 201 weeks and 1 day later. Spoke out on September 19th. And when his big song came out for Bad Boy Records, it was called Bad Boys. And that song released on May 27th, which was 201 days after his November 8th birthday. 201 days after his November 8th birthday, the song releases. He took the fall for the club shooting on December 28th, Denzel's birthday, which was, again, 54 days after Diddy's birthday, which again goes with the real Frank Lucas dying while Denzel was 54 years old. Again, the City College Stampede also happened on December 28th, 91, 54 days from Diddy's birthday on Denzel's birthday. Think about how perfect that is. For the record, the title American Gangster, the film about Frank Lucas, who again Diddy's father worked for. American Gangster equates to 277, which is the 59th prime number. It's kind of like how Independence Day also equates to 277, the 59th prime, and this nation was founded 59 years after modern Freemasonry was created, and Independence Day also equals 74, as does Holiday, as does Masonic. A lot of the rites of modern Freemasonry were written by Jesuit priests. For the record, American Gangster also came out 42 weeks and a day after Denzel's birthday. Like Puff Daddy and Freak Offs in his stormed out headline. Frank Lucas also died 201 days from the first Jesuit Pope's birthday, who again, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, his birth name equals 201, who just died 201 days from the death anniversary of the person he's named after, St. Francis of Assisi. Again, Pope Francis, the first to live in Suite 201, who had 1,000 201 rituals. Frank Lucas died May 30th. That's the same day Beau Biden died in history, the son of Joe Biden. He died at 46 before Joe was elected number 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. And, of course, Inauguration Day is the 201st day of the nation's age. You know what else is interesting? Frank Lucas died at 88, and now the Pope's dead at 88. And shortly before this Diddy trial gets underway. Oh, adding insult to injury, Frank Lucas died 153 days from Denzel's 54th birthday. Jesuit order equates to 153 and 54. And don't forget, also 72. Like, How Diddy's dad, related to Frank Lucas, died in 72. All right. You can look up this picture too from back in the day of looks like they're at a Knicks game. Denzel, Jay-Z, and Diddy all together at the Knicks game. Jay-Z looks like he's just tagging along. Okay. September 20th, 2024 was a date with 53 numerology. They said Diddy was on self-deletion watch. If you spell out SUICIDEWATCH, it has a gematria value 53. Just an example of news by the numbers. Again, Biggie would be 53 years old come May 21st. See if that's some kind of predictive programming. Stephen A. Smith, that was his prediction. Stephen A. Smith said that's what's going to happen. That was back shortly after the arrest. Oh, the story released on September 20th, but they said that he was put on it on September 19th, a date that can be written 19/9. We just said how that phrase equals 53. In the base ciphers, it also equals 199, a lot like 19/9, 19th of September. News by the numbers. On September 18th, 2 days after the arrest, a lot of media began comparing the Epstein outcome and Diddy. And remember, they said the same team that took down Epstein took down Diddy. This story was published on the 77th birthday of the CIA. Don't forget the words in the CIA's logo. Central Intelligence Agency, United States of America, equate to 201. The CIA's motto, the work of a nation, the center of intelligence equals 201. The CIA was created in history on the 201st day of the Pope's age. Like Catholic Pope equals 201. Again, big number with the Jesuits who served the Pope. Howard Hunt, famous CIA agent, once said that the greatest intelligence network in the world is the Jesuits. And they said that that's so because of confessional, because of how much information is acquired through confessional at Catholic churches. So for all you Catholics out there who go and confess, it sounds like it's not just staying in the confession booth. Poor Diddy. Is this how it was? This how it all went down? Was Diddy in Catholic mass, and then he went back to the booth and he thought his secrets were safe? For the record, Jeffrey Edward Epstein equals 106. Like Diddy was arrested on the day, leaving 106 days left in the year by the same team. There's a whole lot more to Epstein as well, but that's the parallel here. This is a good one. If you've never seen They Live, make a point to watch this movie. If you watch this movie being aware of this whole thing of letters and numbers, you're going to be like, this movie is an analogy for knowing what gematria is. But in They Live, the enemy of the world is Cable 54. That movie released on Diddy's birthday when he was a child. It released on his 19th birthday. And now, again, Cable 54 is the enemy of the world. He goes down at 54. I mean, come on. And don't forget, Roddy Piper. He said that movie was a documentary on September 27th, the anniversary of the Jesuits being recognized by Rome. He ends up dying prematurely on the anniversary of the Jesuit founder's death, July 31st. They Live also came out 201 days after Roddy Piper's birthday. And don't forget, the man who revealed this code of letters and numbers behind the English language, Manly P. Hall, he also died 201 days from his birthday. I don't think they liked that he wrote that book. I don't think anybody would know about this if he hadn't written that book. That book was published in 1926, nearly 100 years old. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't know about this if it wasn't for that. He didn't say a whole lot about it in the book, but he revealed the ciphers of the English language. On the CIA's birthday, it was the second time Diddy was denied bail. That was the judge who denied bail that day was Andrew L. Carter. And it was 251 days after his birthday, which is the 54th prime. He also has a 112 birthday, like he could have been in the group. born January 12th. Peaches and cream, if you know what I mean. Okay. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but look it up. Jimmy Page, Puff Daddy, Saturday Night Live. Look up the performance. Come with me. Jimmy Page is 54 years old. Diddy said, "Watch me rise, watch me fall." Think about it. Oh, and what day what day was the performance on? It was on 5/9. It was on May 9th, right? Bad Boy Records 59, just like how Slave, Negro, Blues, and Rost all equal 59, like we were saying. Just huge rituals with Black history in 59. You could also write the date 9/5, going with the whole Jesuit thing. And what's a trip too is just, that's to the tune of Kashmir, and is Diddy's trials starting? India's on the verge of war with Pakistan. And if you missed that whole thing, the terrorist attack was on the anniversary of the United Nations bringing a resolution for the two areas that got attacked on the same day years later in history, 77 years later to the day. Yeah. I wonder about that. I wonder about that because, of course, Kashmir, Big Zeppelin song based on India where the terrorist attack was. I'm saying, is that an accident? Is that an accident? This is going on right now in the world? War tensions in Kashmir as the Diddy trials begin. When, again, he did this song. He did this song next to Jimmy Page when he was 54, saying, "Watch me rise, watch me fall." Or is it just an example of truly how orchestrated the world stage is? Yeah, if you want to come check out the post on my website about this song performance, it's deep how much is connected because, again, this was going on at the time of the election, and Diddy is Mr. Voter dying. He went to Howard like Kamala, and for the record, Howard University's also 201. Kamala Harris is 112. Like how her mom died, who was Indian, on 11/2, the Vatican's birthday. And yeah, it's too much to explain right now. Yeah. Come check out this post. I'm scanning through it on the screen right now, but if you're listening to this later on just the audio broadcast, there's too much information to present here without a visual. Oh, for the record, Clive Davis is also connected to Diddy, and Diddy's arrest was 201 days from Clive Davis's birthday. Go figure. At least he didn't end up dead in a bathtub like Whitney Houston. But I don't know. We'll see. Stephen A. Smith, he had the big old prediction. Oh, that's another thing. Just in light of the Jesuits serving the Pope, Diddy goes down at 54. Remember the word sun, S-U-N is 54. He went down 274 days from the Pope's birthday. And Isus Hominum Salvator, the Jesuit motto, look up their logo, the Jesuits, if you don't know it. It's the sun with the letters IHS for Isus Hominum Salvator, which means Jesus, Savior of man. But Isus Hominum Salvator equals 274, like the Catholic Church has been celebrating the sun's birthday on Sol Invictus since 274 AD. 274 and 54 are peas in a pond. The only man who has a bigger Jesus piece in the world than Diddy is the Pope. Doesn't have as many diamonds in it, though. So, yeah, it's yeah, the ritual. It's a crazy ritual that they have going with Diddy, Zeppelin's Kashmir, Kamala Harris, and even the death of Kamala Harris's mother. Because again, Kashmir's Indian, like Kamala's mom, and like I said, now war's breaking out over there in Kashmir while this trial is getting underway. Like, what in the world? Again, earlier I was going off a rough estimate. I couldn't remember what the exact number was that they quoted, but they did say 784 dildos were taken from Diddy's house. And of course, that was an important piece of information for everybody to know. But 784 has a square root of 28, and Sean Combs equals 28 like Diddy. So you know where they really got that number from. They pulled it straight out of their mathematical asshole. And maybe this is a stretch, or maybe it's not. The cartoon Chester the Molester, it used to be a real comic strip, Chester the Molester. It ended the year that Diddy dropped out of Howard, which was 1989. That's the year the new Black Panthers Party was founded. That's the year that Cam Newton was born and Huey P. Newton died. Of course, we used that information years ago to tell you Super Bowl 50's exact outcome in week 3, what 2 teams would play, who would win, who'd be the MVP, and why there'd be a Black Panther tribute at the game. And of course, all those things happened. And you can look up USA Today's article written by their sports section, The Big Lead, their hit piece on me for calling all that out in week 3. Again, the power of this knowledge, you guys. You can so often see what's coming before it comes, from a Diddy arrest to a rigged sports outcome. But, this Chester the Molester thing. There's something known as Jewish gematria. Chester the Molester equates to 784, just like the number of dildos. So I thought, is that an accident? Is that an accident? That comic strip ended the year he dropped out. And what else is interesting is that comic strip began in 76, the year the feds recognized Black History Month. We told you how slave, Negro, blues, Rasta all equal 59. You run the alphabetic order in reverse, they all equal 76 instead, like Barack Obama equals 76. Like Acts 7:6, the 44th book of the Bible, with the verse about 400 years of slavery. Then you got the 44th president with the 76 name. Howard University, for the record, where Kamala and Diddy both went. And the word on the street is Kamala was been in some freak-offs. That's how she climbed the political ladder. But yeah, Howard University has the 87 like freak-offs and Puff Daddy and Denzel storming out of the freak-offs 87, or at least the headline 87 days from his birthday. And by the way, Diddy began at Howard in 87. Go figure. For all you guys who go to historically black universities, don't you find it funny how like they're all named after white people? Is there something about white people using black people in the world of entertainment? Do you think they could be handpicking certain people from their universities and writing out a long script for them? Like, Diddy, you want to be the face of Bad Boy Records? Because we sure got a script for you. You're going to have a lot of fun. Take that, take that. But you're not going to have a fun time in 2024. At least not at the end of it. Before he went to Howard, he went to a Catholic school, for the record. You know, Howard University is also 231 because we were talking about this, how his character... You know what? His character name in Monsters Ball had the numbers 201, 231, and 87. So does Howard University. And he's going to be in court 231 days after the arrest, or at least the trial begins. I don't know if he will be in court. Well, he'll have to be in court, but I don't know if he's going to be up on the stand. But yeah, the trial does begin 231 days after the arrest. Remember how they used Howard with Kamala's resignation? Or not her resignation, but her conceding to Trump. It was, while the country's 248 years old and President Donald Trump equals 248, and Hillary conceded while he was on 248 electoral votes back in 2016. Kamala waited that extra day to concede at Howard, and she did the 248 ritual. It was 248 days from the anniversary of Howard's establishment. Just like how she had the Oprah and her did the thing to raise... They did it in Oakland, Michigan, the 248 area code, 47 days before the election. Oprah had the event for Kamala to try and get more support for her. But yeah, they had to do it in the 248 area code 47 days before the election at number 47 when Trump equals 47 and Donald John Trump equals 248. Rituals on rituals. Another 59. They said Diddy, he had an illegal AR-15, and it had 59 rounds in it when the Fed seized it. It had 59 rounds. Bad Boy Records, for the record, is 59 forward, 76 in reverse, just like Slave Negro Rasta Blues. And again, that Chester the Molester came out in 76. Go figure. Again, the year Black History Month was recognized by the feds. Uh-oh. This isn't good for the podcast. I'm going to have to edit this. My sweet lady's calling me. She needs help with the baby. I'll be right back because we're not done. Okay. I'm back, but only for a few minutes because I have to make some formula and help out mom. So, yeah, for those of you guys who are watching, there are going to be a few interruptions, and later I'll have to edit this when I upload it to the actual podcast. The good news is we've already got a lot of great examples out there, but there's more to come. How about this one? This was reported by Hot 97 that Diddy made 54 calls in one day to Kalina Harper. Again, just the 54 again. He made 54 calls in a day. Yeah, it's just, I mean, who's keeping, I mean, it's nothing but number rituals. Yeah, we covered this one. Diddy arrested 201 days from Clive Davis's birthday. Bad Boy co-founder Clive Davis, who was largely responsible for Diddy's rise to power, just happened to be 201 days from his birthday. It's a reminder that the phrase Jewish mysticism also equates to 201. There is a Jewish history with the Jesuits. Diddy was also denied bail by Judge Robin Tarnofsky the day after his arrest. And what was noteworthy about this is Judge Robin Tarnofsky equated to 263 like Sean Diddy Combs. 263 is the 56 prime, like Black Lives Matter equals 56, like Cassie equals 56, like how he was arrested 56 days after the anniversary at No Way Out. Once you sign on that line, there's no way out. Diddy's mother, before his arrest, was hospitalized from July 11th and 12th. What was noteworthy about this story is that it was from his last birthday to her hospitalization on July 11th was 251 days later, the 54th prime. So while He was 54. This ritual happens to his mother. And again, it's a reminder that the reflection of 54 in terms of gematria is 72 because it's the other Jesuit order half. It's just a reminder his father was killed in 72. It reported that the stress was caused on her mother due to all of the mounting legal problems for her son. So yeah, absolutely, they tied this in with all the drama. Crystal McKinney accusation. This is before his arrest. It came on Biggie's birthday, May 21st. Last year would have been his 52nd birthday. Okay, look at this. From No Way Out's release, July 22nd, 1997, to her accusation was exactly a span of 322 months. 322 is a special number because the founder of the Illuminati died on the 322nd day of the year. Skull and Bones at Yale's modeled after the Illuminati. They were that order, Skull and Bones, was 192 years old at the time. Crystal McKinney is 192. And I need to pause again. I need to go help out with, I need to go get Sweet Girl's formula ready. Otherwise, mom's going to take my head off. I'm going to have bigger problems than Diddy himself. Hold on. I'll be right back in a minute. Okay. Normally, Sweet Girl will sleep until at least 11 after she goes to bed. So Anyway, okay, just going through some of these other headlines. On the nation's birthday, July 4th, 2024, Sean Combs, new trafficking allegations. And just the thing about 7-4 is it's kind of a fateful number for rappers. We've seen a lot of hip hop deaths connected to 74. Biggie, for example, even died a span of 74 days from his birthday. The word rapper equates to 74. In Sumerian gematria, that's where you multiply the alphabetic order times 6. Anything that equals 74 will equal 444. So you think of just, that Jay-Z album 444 connects with the word rapper. But yeah, big focus on July 4th. This was in the build-up to what was coming a little more than 2 months later, the arrest on the nation's birthday. Sex trafficking allegations. This one was one of my favorite ones in terms of the rituals by the numbers because they brought some good humor with this one. Sean Diddy Combs was accused of having a Lil Rod by Lil Rod, I'm tempted to tell a story from my own life, but maybe it'd be one of those too much information things. Anyways, this story came out 201 days after Diddy's birthday. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Again, from November 4th to May 23rd, the day that this was the headlines, that he had a Lil Pecker. 201 days. New Diddy accuser describes his adolescent penis in graphic lawsuit. Funny enough, from Lil Rod's birthday, which is February 26th, to this story was 87 days later, like Puff Daddy equals 87. And this is before they'd invented the term freak offs, so we didn't know anything about the freak offs yet. But theoretically, his Lil Pecker must have been exposed at some of the freak offs. Yeah. Sean Kingston on that same day. And this story is developed, right? They've been sentenced to prison now, him and his mother. Sean Kingston is of Jamaican ancestry, just like Notorious B.I.G. is. But Sean Kingston and his mother were arrested for wire fraud. And that was also 201 days after Diddy's birthday. And this story was, buzzing before the arrest. Like around the same time that Diddy's house got raided on the anniversary of Biggie's album. Sean Kingston, and here's the other thing that I think about. Like when you think of Sean Kingston, what's his song? What's his hit song that he had? I remember it like it was yesterday because I was working at a group home at the time, and all the little kids in that group home were singing the song, and some of them were so little, I was like, do they even know what that word means? The song is about, essentially girls driving him nuts and making him suicidal. So I'm starting to think about that with Stephen A. Smith's prediction. I'm like, is this where this is going? Is this what this is really about? It's all some kind of just crazy, bizarre ritualism and predictive programming. But yeah, Sean Kingston, he put out his album, his big hit song, or maybe that was 2007, not 2006. I was working at the group home in both those years. It was one of those 2 years, but it looks like that album came out in 2007. The single could have been out earlier. But yeah, it was put out on that's the Ignatius Loyola feast date. That's the day in history the founder of the Jesuits died that song came out. So, go figure. Go figure. We haven't even gotten to the Diddy Cassie beating video yet. And suppose that came out of the Fed raid. Let me see here. Let's do this one first. Okay. So the video didn't come out on March 5th, 2016. It came out last May, May 17th, 2024. But it's important the day that the video is dated, March 5th, 2016. If you watch the video, that's the date of the supposed beating that everybody saw last year on May 17th, 2024. And by everybody, I mean TV watching people. It was the big story that day. It was pretty graphic. It was pretty violent. But was it real? I mean, we are talking about a guy who's been in Hollywood productions. Would they go to these lengths to shame a black man? Of course they would. They got to perpetuate the stereotypes. Again, the same mainstream media that's going to be broadcasting this story is the same mainstream media that for decades has, programmed into the minds of people that black people are dangerous, they're violent, they're sexual predators, they're drug dealers, they're drug addicts, they're thieves, etc., etc. This is how the media has programmed in the minds of the masses. And maybe they're not doing it as much as they used to, but that programming is still there because it's definitely been common in the generation where I was growing up and my parents' generation. People have children, parents pass on those ideas to their children see stories like this, and they're like, oh my God, I've never seen a man beating a woman like that, ever. But look who it is. It's a black man. It's Diddy. It reinforces the programming. Okay. Again, I don't want to hit every last point here on this. There's a huge Chris Wallace piece with this because the video was released 4 days before his birthday anniversary. From Diddy's birthday to the release of the video was exactly 28 weeks. Again, Sean Combs and Diddy are 28. You square that number, it's the number of dildos in his house. There are some other pieces here that matter. From Diddy's birthday to the day that he supposedly beat the Cassie on March 5th, 2016, that was 122 days after his birthday. The Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, equates to 122. Pope Francis also equates to 122, the first Jesuit pope. When you run it in reverse, Pope Francis is 175. And I know I'm missing a piece here. Should have reviewed some of this before I presented it. Oh, yeah, the video was released on a date that can be written 17/5. 17/5. From the Pope's birthday to the release of the video was 153 days. Jesuit Order 153. It's like, again, Denzel. Frank Lucas died 153 days from his birthday. Keep in mind, the Illuminati also equates to 153, and it was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, and it was founded in Bavaria, which equals 54, like Jesuit Order. From the Pope's birthday to the release of the video was 152 days. Sean Combs equals 152. From Cassie's birthday to the release of the video was 266 days. Pope Francis was the 266th Pope, the first Jesuit, and the Jesuit motto, Isus Hominum Salvator, equates to 266 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. It also equals 122 like we just covered. It also equals 274, like how Diddy got arrested 274 days after the Pope's birthday. So yeah, for the guy who made the video earlier today saying that we're falsely tying these things to the Jesuits, how are we falsely tying it when it all lines up perfectly? Like every inch of this. From the numbers to the dates to the color code. Little things like what they did on Netflix. Yeah. And by the way, just it being from 2016 and being released in 2024, just around the year 16, the Jesuits have existed since the 16th century. And I heard, I forget what I was listening to, something on the news, they're saying that Diddy's defense team is going to say that the video is doctored and made to make it look worse than it actually is. I mean, in a way, I don't doubt that at all. I feel like the whole thing's probably a Hollywood production, but It's not to say there aren't men who beat women in the world. It's just I understand that this whole thing is ritual shaming, and this is what happens in the world of celebrity, and they love to use these icons as examples. It's all just way too perfect. But yeah, if you want to come read these posts, I'm scrolling through a lot of information. There's a lot more to this as well. But yeah, it's a perfect triangular relationship with the release of the video and Cassie and Diddy and the Pope. Okay. Oh, by the way, No Way Out equals 35. He supposedly beat her on March 5th, 3-5. And the date can be written 5-3 as well, like 53. And again, Notorious B.I.G.'s about, well, his birth. Well, who knows? Maybe he's in Belize and he is going to celebrate his 53rd birthday for all we know. Maybe he is alive. Who knows? But if he were alive, and he isn't, he would turn 53 this year. And here's the point to make about that with the release of the video, because a lot of this did have to do with him. They raided Diddy's house on the anniversary of the album, and they said that's where they got this video from, was the raid. But check this out. Christopher George Latour Wallace, that's Biggie's full name, 4-part name, 153, like Jesuit order. Again, the release of the video 153 days after the Pope's birthday. Christopher Wallace alone is 196. The release of the video was 196 days after Diddy's birthday, or 28 weeks. And again, now this trial is going to begin right before his birthday, his 53rd, and March 5th can be written 5/3. It's also the 64th day of the year, like you're playing chess. Don't forget, International Chess Day goes back to Paris, France, and it's celebrated on the 201st day of the year. Cassie Ventura spoke up about the video 6 days later, and she did so 201 days after Diddy's birthday. So she breaks her silence on the video, synced up with the Pope, whose birth name is 201, who was the first Jesuit Pope, the first to live in Suite 201. But again, she just happens to speak up 201 days after Diddy's birthday. Just think about it. Okay. Misa Hilton also weighed in on the Diddy beating, and she did that on Notorious B.I.G.'s birthday. She spoke up 136 days after her own birthday. That's the 16th triangular number. The beating was in 2016. Her name, Misa Hilton, equals 136. So Misa Hilton, her number gets called 136 days after her birthday to become part of the story. You know, she didn't think to speak about it 135 days after her birthday, or 134, or 133, or 132. I mean, all of those would have been days after the video came out. She waited until 136 days. And for the record, Misa Hilton equals domestic abuse, which also equals 136. And that's what she spoke about. That she also had suffered domestic abuse in the time of being with Diddy. She's the ex-girlfriend of Diddy. 50 Cent. Remember when Pop Smoke died on the 50th day of the year? We pointed out how he had the surname Jackson like 50 Cent, and how he sort of looked like 50 Cent. And a lot of people said that we were tripping and it was all stupid. And then next thing you know, 50 Cent came out and said he's going to finish Pop Smoke's album. And then he put it out by the numbers. But the other thing is, the member of the Locks, remember, he delayed his album's release called Ignatius because of the Pop Smoke killing. And for the record, Jesuits, the plural, equals 50, just like America, just like Washington, like other headquarters for the countries in D.C. But, and don't forget also what they did to the Run DMC member who died in connection to 50 Cent when his career was jumping off. But yeah, 50 Cent joked last year on May 15th, 2024, that Jay-Z would be going down along with Diddy. And he did that on Mercuralia. Mercury is associated with trickery. Yeah, again, the first legal suit that came out, the rumor started with Jay-Z while he was at the tail end of being 54. And then the first legal suit came out while he was 55. Um, oh, hold on. Yeah, God, it's crazy how they do the same things over and over. The released video of the beating of Cassie was also 201 days before Jay-Z's birthday. Jay-Z has that December 4th birthday, born 1 month after Diddy. Jay-Z was born the same day as the Fred Hampton murder in Chicago. The Black Panther murdered in Chicago by the feds. At least so the history books tell us. And if you guys don't know the history of Black Panthers, all their original meetings were in Catholic churches. Go figure. Catholics in action. CIA, feds. Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen compared Diddy to R. Kelly on April Fool's Day, which was 201 days after Chris Hansen's birthday. All these 201s. And by the way, Chris Hansen's birthday is Caesar Borgia's birthday, which is also Tupac's death anniversary. And don't forget, Tupac died from gun violence 2 years to the day of the 94 assault weapons ban. And Tupac was in Above the Rim. And the song Regulators was on there with Warren G and Nate Dogg. Of course, Nate Dogg died on the Ides of March, the 74th day of the year, day associated with killing. But yeah, April Fool's Day, 201 days after Chris Hansen's birthday. The whole thing is a joke. The whole thing is a joke. And if I had to bet on it, I'd bet that Diddy hasn't been in jail for not one single day. That's the other part about it, I would bet. I could be wrong about that, but nobody has any proof that he's been in jail. The footage of his arrest was shot from 2 blocks down the street. Remember that? That night they had the footage. It's like, what? They couldn't get any closer than that? Where's that cameraman at? Way down the block, please. The news media and paparazzi wouldn't have been all over the place. One of the most famous guys in New York, the closest shot they got in the age of the cell phone was just way down the street. Oh, that was the other thing too. The day the day the feds raided Diddy's house while he was 54 on Biggie's anniversary of putting out his album, it was a date with 72 numerology, just like how his father was killed in 72. Jesuit Order 5472. The rule of 72. The Lil Rod thing. I covered the accusation of the Lil Wee Wee, but here let's go in more into the Lil Rod accusation because this was a good one. So Lil Rod, his name is Rodney Jones, and Rodney Jones equates to 144 in the most simple cipher, like Jesuit Order equates to 144. With numerology, Rodney Jones equals 54, like Jesuit Order. In reverse, Rodney Jones equals 153, like Jesuit Order. In reverse with numerology is where the difference is. Rodney Jones is 54 again, like how Diddy went down at 54, whereas Jesuit Order is 72 in that cipher. And the charges, hold on. Rodney Jones's charges were filed on February 26, 2024, which was a date with 72 numerology. Lil Rod produced Diddy's Love album. The word love equates to 54 forwards and backwards. So, yeah, this happened in Black History Month. The Love album released on September 15, 2023. So think about it. A year and a day later was Diddy's arrest. Yeah. From the release of the album to the accusation was 165 days later. Sean Puffy Combs, what he used to go by, equals 165. Again, I'm not the guy who gave him all these different names. He's been known, but just like a number of artists who changed their name. But yeah, just going through his old names, his current names, how it all fits together so perfectly. So yeah, Lil Ron said he had a Lil Ron. I mean, it's obvious mockery. Diddy did endorse Joe Biden, and for the record, Puff Daddy does equal Joe Biden. Diddy also equals 46, like Joe Biden would become number 46, 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Yeah, so that was actually a pretty significant headline. It was covered from the UK to the US that Diddy had endorsed Joe Biden, all part of the buildup to number 46. And don't forget when he nominated Kamala to be VP, we had that called out before having. We said, watch, it's going to happen on August 11th, 2020, the date with 59 numerology for the 59th election. Sure enough. Also, just things buzzing in recent weeks. TD Jakes stepped down from the head of his mega church because of rumors of him being connected to Diddy. Again, the lawyer who's really trying to bust Diddy's balls is in Texas. Apparently, a lot of freak offs happened in Texas. This TD Jakes, he stepped down 322 days after his birthday. That old 322 again. Big time Kabbalah number. Kabbalistic tree of life, the physical model for Kabbalah, 3 pillars, 22 paths. It's mentioned in Genesis 3:22. So we'll see if his name comes up in the trial. It was a date with 76 date numerology as well. Bad boy records 76, like slave, like Negro, like blues, like Rasta. Yeah, I think because Sweet Girl's up and mom actually would like some help with Sweet Girl because she's having one of these nights where she's probably going to wake up every 30 minutes. I think I better end it right there. Sorry that I had to pause and interrupt a few times. Shout out to Feet Zazmela. What a name for two. They donated 2 times. They also said Klaus Schwab, Warren Buffett stepping down after 55 years. Yeah, Klaus Schwab did his ritual the day the Pope stepped down. Yeah, Warren Buffett sold all of his stocks before the market tanked. From the Jesuit town of Omaha, Nebraska. And John Mendoza, always with the generous dollar, said these rappers are studio gangsters. Indeed they are. Indeed they are. So yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. I gotta go help out with Sweet Girl tonight. But yeah, I'll be on top of it. Again, we don't do this work for ourselves. We do this work to wake up our fellow man. Everyone's so caught up in the distractions, caught up in the deception. We're trying to free you from it, so you can sit back and just laugh at it all. And actually, it's more than just laughing at it. It's if people could free themselves from the mind control, the agendas wouldn't work. You know, people wouldn't have fallen for Cooties 19. They wouldn't have fallen for 9/11. They wouldn't have been putting yellow ribbons on the back of their car and sending their children off to an unnecessary war that was only going to bring more destruction, death, chaos into the world. Exactly what it's done. Cost the taxpayers trillions of dollars, et cetera, et cetera. Again, there really are consequences to being sucked into this mind control and not being able to see the way you're being mocked. Yesterday, the Kentucky Derby was a total mockery of your existence, but you could have taken advantage of it. You could have won it 9-1 odds, like a lot of people in our community did. Again, live stream yesterday on Patreon, and we nailed it again. We've nailed the Derby the majority of years since I started. Again, we're fresh off nailing the Derby, the Masters, March Madness. Show me anyone in the world who had all those things before they began. But again, it's something we've done numerous times. It's not the first time we've done that. We've done it consistently for over a decade. That is the power of this knowledge. Again, the horse that won the race yesterday, Sovereignty. Listen to this. That horse was born February 22nd, 2022. That's the day that Russia's military went into Ukraine's border, and that's the day Biden addressed the nation at 2:22. Russia imposed on Ukraine's sovereignty. Now, in addition to that, well, keep in mind the horse was born on the 53rd day of the year as well, and the race was on 5/3, 53 date numerology. But in addition to that, if you look it up, all 19 horses in the race yesterday were related to the Triple Crown winner from 73, Secretariat. All 19 horses related to the great racing horse that happened to die at age 19. And the Friday before the race, they pulled horses 10 and 4 from the race. Secretariat died on October 4th, 10-4. They said both horses had a bruised foot. Just for the record, in gematria, a bruised foot equals 53. Like how the race went off on 5/3 and the horse born on the 53rd day of the year won. But if you look, from Secretariat's birthday, March 30th, to the day it died, was 188 days later. Bavarian Illuminati equals 188. The US dollar bill denominations, the 1, the 2, the 5, the 10, the 20, the 50, the 100, they add up to 188. Racing is money. The horse that won yesterday, Sovereignty, if you look, it had a race at Churchill Downs on October 27th last year, 188 days before yesterday's race. So we mapped out all these things before the race, and I said, just alone Sovereignty being born the day the war began, that makes too much sense. And then you have this thing with Secretariat. Keep in mind, S is the 19th letter, just like Sovereignty and Secretariat both start with S. You had that perfect connection. And the one thing that I'm annoyed with myself that I feel like I should have had is I should have had first, second, and third all correct. And, you know, the horses that finished in second and third, I thought they might finish neck and neck again in the race. I talked about that in our stream because the last time those horses raced was at Santa Anita, the track where all the horses die. And Journalism finished in second, and Baeze finished in third. I just misspoke. Journalism finished in first, won the race, and Baeze, the horse that got added last, finished right behind it in second. But here's what I missed, or didn't. Not that I missed. I should have put together. Secretariat equals 47, like Ukraine equals 47. And again, Zelensky turned 47 5 days after Trump, number 47, took office. Look at the winning horses. 18 for Sovereignty, 8 for Journalism. 18, 8's like 188 again. And then 21. What's 18 plus 8 plus 21? 47. Secretariat, 47. They're all related to him. And don't forget, if you go back and look at the virtual Derby on May 2nd, 2020, they had to shift the Derby because of Cootie's 19. That virtual Derby was between the 13 Triple Crown horses. It was just all virtual horses. Secretariat won 47 years after being the Triple Crown winner on a 47 date numerology. Again, we've been talking about that for 5 years now, just how even when they do the virtual Derby, they got to mock you with the numbers. But now it comes full circle in 2025. And if you're new here, again, I always have a license plate behind my head that says, what is 47? It is the boss number of the cabal. It's the time authority number. Of course, racing's all about time. So, anyway. We'll leave it there for now. Congrats to everybody who did hit on the Derby, who hit on the Masters, who hit on March Madness. If you're on my Patreon, you surely hit on those things. Again, it's a damn shame that YouTube's destroyed this channel. If you guys are new here in 2025, when live streaming was a brand new thing, I had always at least 2,000 people in every live stream. Based on what we've accomplished from then up to now, there should be like 200,000 people in every live stream. Why is it 200 and some people? Because YouTube's deleted this channel 20 sometimes, buried us in the algorithm. They don't like what we're exposing. And again, who else in the world told you Diddy was going down at age 54? I don't think anybody else put out that prediction either. So from the news to the sports to the rigged selections, we told you 4 years in advance why they'd be reinstalling Trump. We told you way in advance why it was going to be Biden as number 46 weeks after the post-birthday. You go back to 2015, Trump took the stage the first time. They said he was the 133rd richest man in the world. I said that day, oh my God, is The Apprentice going to be the president? Because president, White House, and government equal 133? Understanding that knowledge, that's why we had Todd Golden to pick up his 133rd career win, winning the championship for Florida on 4-7 this year, as he certainly did. And don't forget, Todd Golden was Jesuit educated. Todd Golden won the championship 274 days after his birthday, winning Florida their 54th win in the tournament. Jesus Hominum Salvator, 274. Jesuit Order 54, Sun 54. It's just like Diddy getting arrested 274 days after the Pope's birthday at age 54. They put these same numbers together all the time. The Catholic Church has celebrated the sun's birthday in the sky on 12/25 since 274 AD. They call it Sol Invictus. And Sol Invictus, actually, you know what? Here, let me show you where that fits in with actually Puff Daddy. Check this out. Or actually, is it? Hold on. It's Sean Combs and Puff Daddy. It just dawned on me why it makes even more sense why they did this with him. Sol Invictus has the 46. Sean Combs, or it's not Sean Combs, it's Puff Daddy. Or shoot, what's wrong with me? It's Diddy. That's what it is. It's Diddy. He's got too many damn names. Diddy's 46. Sol Invictus is 46. Sol Invictus brings the 54 and the 274 together. Arrested at 54, 274 days after the Pope's birthday. And again, Joe Biden elected number 46 after Diddy endorsed him. Catholic 46, the nation's second Catholic president, number 46, 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Don't forget the first Catholic president was JFK, killed at age 46. He was number 35, killed on I-35. Again, you learn these numbers, you see who's really controlling the show. So, all right. We'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. Thank you to everyone who hit the like and the share. We'll stay on top of it throughout the whole trial. And until next time, have a good night.